either current or negotiator, which I did.
John right here. James Gonzalez. And James.
One newly elected board member who will be starting officially in January. Kind of shows here. Getting his feet wet. Then he'll soon be showering us with a lot of information, I'm sure. So let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Child flowers, my reading is
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight we have the DWR here. So we said, oh, hi. Should have introduced myself earlier. Thanks for being here. We'll start with the presentation.
Sounds great. Wherever you come from.
Yeah, just make sure you got the light. I'll hand you.
Probably nothing I will say needs to be recorded. Won't be that exciting, but just wanted to take a few minutes to give you guys an update on some conversations that Jim and I have been having, looking at possible angler access opportunities and improvements on Stansbury Lake. And let me just give you a little quick background. My name is Chris Crockett. I work for the Division of Wildlife Resources. I help both manage the fisheries throughout the state, in this part of the state, and also help do access improvements. So it sounds like some of you have experience with some of our community ponds and some of the access improvements we've done elsewhere. So this is just some of my ideas. This is nothing that is written in stone, and this is still kind of a 10,000 foot view, just really to give you guys an idea of what we could do and then some next steps.
So this presentation is focusing on fishing access, not necessarily water quality.
Correct. So I do, some of my partners in our sister agency do cover water quality. I have quite a bit of experience on that too, but this right now is just really talking about opportunities for improving fishing and fishing access. So I'm just going to go through this really quickly. We'll talk about what I see, and this is what I see. You guys may see something totally different. Potential access points for improvement. A very brief look at some amenity options, really just some pictures, quite frankly, to get the public and the board start thinking about ideas and what it might look like in some of these other areas. Talk about very generally some site-specific options, again, very brief, and then look at next steps. So again, this is just my interpretation of some potential areas here. We'll talk a little bit more about these, but you see the clubhouse area there. We're into lots of opportunity for improving access, both for anglers and also for just recreational boaters. The Sagers Park area to the north, Delgado Park, North Port Park, maybe you know it by another name. I've heard some locals call it different. And then the Lakeview Causeway, and then what I'm kind of calling these shoreline drive inlets. So obviously, when the lake was built and the development was built, they were trying to optimize lakefront property, and so it created some of these little causeways, or excuse me, these little inlets that are actually green space that could have some opportunities for improvements for angler access. We'll come back to some of this here in the next one. So I'm really just going to touch on 3 different amenity options categories, looking at some fishing platforms, some boat launch, ramp facilities, and some fisheries habitat structure. Next slide, please. As you guys know, there's all kinds of other amenities if we do look to develop an access point that we will need to take into count, parking, shade, lighting, trails, transportation, etc. Be happy to talk more about those at some other time, but given my expertise is fisheries, I just really kind of wanted to hit on those top three for that. Next slide, please. Fishing platforms, this is a key component of everything we do. We're, say, developing a community fishery, or we're developing a large reservoir like Jordan and Deer Creek. We typically design some sort of fishing pier or dock. I think it's probably self-explanatory, but it is worth saying a lot of times what you're trying to do with these structures is twofold. You're trying to concentrate anglers, individuals recreating where you want them. So, for example, here, as opposed to, say, creating their own little shoreline access right next to the river, the lake, causing issues with landscape or homeowners for that matter. And you're also trying to provide a safe spot, making these ADA accessible. Also tend to build them with kids in mind, so there's a nice safe area that gets people further out into the lake so that they can fish in a little bit more of a controlled and also comfortable setting. Lots of different components that you can make these out of. Obviously, more complicated, the larger, usually the more costly, but there are some pretty cost-effective measures. And when we start designing them, we're still taking into account safety, making them ADA accessible. You see some of those lower ratings there. So just again, there's going to be a few pictures, really just to get everyone thinking about what you might like to see. Next slide. Some general categories of these, pylon or post supported. These are typically permanent structures. So you're placing them in an area that you don't have big issues with changes in lake elevation, where you don't have a lot of wind shear or ice shear piling up. These typically run a little bit more expensive than some of our other options, but they are also some of the nicer ones, the more stable ones that we can build. Next slide. These are the ones that we install in a lot of our community fisheries, just these floating style ones. Prices can vary, don't quote me because it seems like it's going up these days, but you can look at like a 20-foot platform, maybe $35,000. But it's not included installation, it's not included if you build other units. So it might give you an idea of price points. These are some of the ones that can be lived in very quickly. It's basically modular, so you need to develop your site a little bit to ensure that you've got ease of traffic, you've got a wheelchair ramp, things like that, but they can pop up pretty quick. And the nice thing about them is you can also move them around. So if you wanted a short-term fix somewhere, this could be something that can provide a great recreational opportunity. Next slide. These we've installed, typically we're looking at these as breakwaters, a little bit more significant investment. You see the jetty at the top. These can be provided in for a breakwater system to breakwater meaning to block waves coming into an area. But they're also a great fishing opportunity. These can be pretty primitive, or they can be rather developed as the one you see on the top. The other idea are some of these what we call cantilevered fishing platforms. We've got some of these at Utah Lake State Park and other places. Again, I'm really just trying to show you some pictures so you can kind of be thinking through how you might like to see some of your areas develop. Next slide. Another key component is launch ramps. Understandably here, these would probably be on the small side since we see any foreseeable change in it being a non-motorized access point. These can be very simple as a beach area, but typically you're trying to again funnel people to the area you want them to use, provide a little bit of a measure of safety features, and also prevent people from launching other areas. So sometimes you use them to concentrate use, if you will. Next slide. Some of the more popular ones, especially that you might consider here, given the number of out on paddle boards or canoes, are some of these launches that are actually incorporated into your boat ramps, which should be your boat docks. You see kind of the basic idea is to provide individuals a safe area to launch a kayak or a canoe. Some of these are as simple as just a slide, or others can be more complicated. There's ones that can help individuals with disabilities launch a ramp, or should we launch a kayak that actually utilize the police system. Next slide. Some of the more primitive ones, if you will, that we've installed. There's a couple of pictures there from Jordan L. Reservoir at the Ross Creek area. These are just basically concrete pads. They can be gravel pads. Some of them you can actually have prefab metal pads that almost just roll out. Again, you're just hardening the structure, you're providing safe access down to water. And typically these will also incorporate some type of rail or other safety features. The rail obviously can be used as a handrail, but in other areas, you can actually build a rail, if you will, that allows you to slide your kayak down. So it takes a little bit of weight off. Next slide. The other thing that we typically try to incorporate with a lot of these features is habitat, which you might call tractors for fish. I think of these in two different ways. Some of the time we're putting in habitat, we're actually doing it on population level scales. We're saying you're trying to put in habitat to increase catfish spawning or bluegill spawning. And so those might be lake-wide, but a lot of times we'll incorporate these features close to fishing areas. They provide good habitat, but in a slightly different purpose. They may not necessarily provide large-scale population changes, but it's a fish attractor. So it gives kids a place to go and go, hey, I know there's going to be a ton of bluegill hanging out here. Gives kids a place to fish. So just kind of two different ideas there. That's why a lot of times we'll incorporate those into the fishing areas. It's good habitat, but it's also pulling some of those fish in and helping give them a place to hang out, the kids to hang out and fish. We stock fish, it gives us stocked fish. So they can next slide. So that was just giving you guys some ideas. When I surveyed the potential access sites, again, 6 of them there. Next slide. Just an idea for what you could do. There's a lot of potential in many of these areas, so I'm not going to go into detail. You guys may have totally different ideas, but in a clubhouse type area, there's potential to either expand, improve, or add an additional ramp. 2 ramps in mind, because I know you can get a lot of use at one of them, or you could design one more geared towards fishing access type of idea, paddle boards to help segregate the areas. Plenty of access there, or you could install fishing docks or multiple docks with piers, incorporate some soft habitat features. And I just mentioned designated swimming area. You guys are already doing this, but there's some design features we can help with that would try to help reduce conflict as opposed to create. Next slide. I'll go through these so you can see a lot of overlap. Sagers Park area, a little different habitat feature set, but still a lot of room for improvements. A little shallower areas, so there might be some design considerations there, relative to ramps and docks, but still a lot of these same ideas. I know there was talk about either removing or replacing the bridge. I've seen bridges incorporated. Essentially, you create a bridge with some fishing alcoves out to the side. So imagine a wider bridge that spans an area that essentially works as a fishing platform, fishing dock, as well as a bridge. Excellent. Dugout Park, a little bit smaller footprint. So if you were thinking improvements there, you're probably talking smaller docks, maybe not a ramp here, maybe a ramp somewhere else. Again, these are design features that we'd like you guys to consider. These are just ideas. Next one, please. North Park area, Dugout and North Park might be an area where you can develop one. Again, more for fishing, another one more for swimming. Again, just kind of throwing out ideas that could utilize to help prevent any sort of conflict of users, fishing versus just slide. Lakeview, Causeway area, again, plenty of opportunity there. As you've skipped through a lot of these. The fishing features would be pretty easy. The real question is going to be how to design some individuals come out with me on a couple of these trips, and talk to some of the landowners, and I was actually surprised at the number of residents that fish these little inlets with the greenway space. So I didn't want to exclude this. Just kind of some of these are on the small side, but some of them do have plenty of footprint for some recreational upgrades. Another thought, just throw it out there, is maybe some of these that are too small to really promote for fishing. So you could actually incorporate landscape features, rocks, bushes, that sort of thing, to kind of discourage fishing in a tight area that's prone to trespass, but then promote it in some of these other areas. Dale Pond Park area, still quite a bit of opportunity there. A little different system given its depth and its kind of more linear feature. But again, a lot of these other features that we talked about, shoreline trails, some of these small, fishing docks, would be very valuable there. So next steps, that's really up for the board to decide. But I just wanted to kind of mention some of the ideas that we were looking at. I understand you're going to be updating some of your management plans. If there's an opportunity for the division to help with that, we have a lot of resources we can bring to bear on it. The funding cycle for some of these entities I'm going to talk about is coming up pretty soon. So I mean, if it's too early for that, if we're not there yet, then that's fine. But I just wanted to mention that. At some, yeah, let's go to the next one. So, good question. There's quite a few funding opportunities out there. The ones that I am most familiar with, and the ones that we use the most, are the Habitat Council. It's actually it's 3 different entities, and really their funding process is very similar. They share funds. Habitat Council, Watershed Restoration Initiative, and the Blue Ribbon Council. That's the first one right there. Those proposals are going to be due in January. That's a fairly simple project proposal, so it's not unreasonable to think that we might not get those together. The other one is the voter access grant fund. It's the second one there. That one is a mix of federal and state, Utah Division of Recreation Fund. So that one covers quite a bit of different funding entities, but again, the grant proposal is kind of all in one spot. So those are the 2 that we use the most. Those were due in November. Sometimes there's some funds, extra funds kicking around, but a lot of times what somebody will do is, they'll apply for one, and they'll reach out to the other one for a matching fund or something like that. So a lot of times for these larger projects, they're actually tripping 2 or 3 or 4. That's about all I had. I skipped over some stuff, but it was nothing really important. I did just want to say the division is here to help. It's not our role to tell you exactly what you need, because most of the time we don't know. So we can show you some ideas, some opportunities. One thing that we typically do is we encourage additional public input. So that's something that you guys might consider, as we can hopefully come up with a great plan. We think it's great. But we'd also love to hear what the residents and the surrounding communities want to see. So that way, when we put together a proposal, we're not out in left field when we don't understand.
What are the obligations that come along with that service? Funds to without what you do get some water.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. there might be some exceptions, but for the most part, those funding entities are looking to fund projects or anything within the public. So that doesn't mean there can't be people take some community funds, for example. Some of our community funds charge a parking fee that they cannot exclude members of the public. So there's kind of some wiggle room in their management costs. But yes, most of those funding entities are looking to fund public owners. So our funding base is typically coming from taxes, DJ, PR dollars that are all funded by essentially. And
With regards to the open to public waters and things like that, is there, well, it's my understanding that on our particular lake, the fish that we have there regenerate themselves, so to speak. You're not coming by and dumping a whole lot of fish in there, I think. My knowledge is that, can you say if that's true or not?
so most of the production that you have is natural reproduction. The division has stocked through the years some what we call supplemental stocking. So it's typically like juvenile largemouth bass, juvenile bluegill. But we have not treated it as a take fishery where we're stocking catchable rainbows, catchable catfish. That would be an opportunity if you're working with the division. And to get back to your first question, you asked about agreements. Yes, typically there's some sort of MOU for some of those proposals. I mean, you can imagine if the state's giving you $500,000 that they want some sort of assurances that's going to be public water. So it's usually some sort of contract agreement or MOU. That could also be something that could be included in an MOU is how we are going to help manage the water. So most of these projects that we've done in the past, we aren't looking to ram it down anyone's throat, but we want partners that want to work together to make it happen. And that means, you know, we're going to come with some funding, we're going to come with some resources, but at the same time, the communities are doing the same thing.
So one of the, I'll go ask a question straight. But one of the things, have you had a lot of experience with residences being right around the lake? You've seen our residents who are like, we've got folks who live right on the lake. And so that's to their, those who live right there, you know, that's to their advantage. But part of the problem is that some of the anglers are not very light. And so, you know, and so we have conflicts between anglers and homeowners. And, you know, this is wide open with the ideas, but, you know, can you give us any, we have ideas on what to do, but they all cost more money than the enforcement. This seems to be worth it, so I'm wondering, do you run into that often? Have you run into that? Suggestion for cost or how to control?
Yeah, it's not, how should I say this? It's not unique to here, but it is a pretty unique situation given the geography of Stansbury Lake, right? And we talked about the fact that it was basically built to maximize frontage property. So therefore you've got a lot higher density, if you will, of potential conflict zones. I think we still have a lot to learn, so I'd love to hear your guys' ideas. But where we might be able to assist is, first of all, just smart design features on where we put in some of these access points. Sometimes putting in and improving an access point can actually funnel people where you want them for management purposes. So it's not always a create more of a problem. It can be, well, this problem that's over here, pull it into the direction where you want. And so that goes, you know, with restrooms, with trash, you name it, provide that avenue people to get to the water. The other thing is we talked about some of the design features in some of these small areas where you want people not there. That's what we've done in the past is utilize landscape features that kind of They do not promote fishing, so again, you're talking about current bushes, thorny bushes, things like that, to get them away from those areas. It's a little bit more difficult here, quite frankly, but we have extended some fences into the water, but probably not on the scale that you would look at here when you're talking about those fingers or those areas are pretty numerous. I think they're kind of like over 2 dozen. Where we can also come to bear is with our law enforcement. And so we talked about the MOU. I would encourage you guys, if you look to make some improvements and we are bringing some money, that you develop an MOU with us that also spells out some of our law enforcement presence and response. And I'm sure you guys have other ideas. So
That's a good one.
I didn't say that, so when you talked to my law enforcement, we just had this great idea. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, the system is different than a lot of our other community fisheries, just in terms of the potential conflict zones. Other states have also done a lot of training in etiquette, if you will, and actually, had people take a little online course for etiquette when fishing off, close to someone's dock, things like that. So I think there's some educational opportunities that we haven't quite fleshed out, but that might be an opportunity as well.
I am all for recreation, and we've got lots of people that enjoy the lake, welcome there, anglers, swimmers, kayakers, everybody. But I really am concerned about our water quality. Right now we're trying to build a database of metrics over time, but we're kind of just starting that. It's like some great volunteers that are helping us with that. The total dissolved solids number is quite high. So, no one can recreate at the water something. The fish aren't going to do that. What resources do you have that could help us feel comfortable about where we're headed?
Right, absolutely. I'll punt that question a little bit and say that would probably be a good question for some of my partners in the Division of Water Quality, which I'd be happy to set you up with. They've had similar issues, but I can think of a couple of ponds in Salt Lake County where they've developed little TMDL action plans, essentially for some of these waters with recommendations on how they can change their landscape. They can put in aerators, maybe they're planting willows to increase shading, which cools your temperature, things like that. So there are some of those resources, but I wouldn't want to speak too much given that I'm not sure the funding sources for those and how fleshed out some of those opportunities are. So, but I'd be happy to put you in contact with some of my parts of the Division of Water Quality. And you guys aren't the only ones that are dealing with that. If you've been watching the news, we're dealing with that. Strawberry Reservoir, places that we never thought that we'd have harmful algal blooms, things like that.
So one other thing, Chris, we're executing on our grant. We sort of pause, so I'd like to get you together with us so that we can flesh that out and maybe make some changes between now and next year's execution cycle. I think that's engineering. Yes. So we look forward to getting you.
Absolutely. And again, if the time's not right for some of these funding sources, that just means we're ahead of schedule for next year. So on my account, I don't feel like you have to rush. These are funding sources and projects that we do.
Thank you so much for coming.
When I see there's some of those things supposed to work out, did you say something about some of that funding from the federal? But there's a lot of that funding also from the state itself.
It does. So it depends on, quite frankly, it depends on the project. Both of those, motorboat access and the WRI Blue Ribbon, they're essentially clearing houses for funding sources. So quite frankly, when you present a project to them, they have several avenues to fund it. So it may be all Dingle Johnson dollars, DJ dollars coming in, or they may do 75% DJ and 25% state. They typically have quite a few pots to pull from, if you will. And so they're doing everything they can to maximize that money. But for the most part, our projects would be 50-50 state, 50-50 federal, somewhere along those lines. So I don't know if I answered your question.
No, yeah, that's exactly what I was wondering. You just start with one place, you've got different possibilities.
A lot of time we're running like 3 or 4 different proposals. So you might use, you might apply for some state funds and count that as a match for your federal dollars, because a lot of these are kind of trying to balance. You talked about everybody's putting a little bit of money in. So typically a 25-75 or a 50-50.
So Jim was talking about, funding ideas for next fall, I guess. I'm planning with you guys, right now, but in a couple of months to try to get something. This is our idea, is a little bit better, help us with ideas, and then step by step, maybe to the point of saying, okay, we're ready to proceed with this kind of deal. You publish with some funds to be able to make it work. It sounded like, not all the time, it sounded like we have to come up with some matching funds also. And the matching funds are kind of like, nobody has any of those.
It's, I don't know what resources you guys have, but with some of the other counties, their in-kind time is their match. So if you have access to, city or county engineers who can help with some of the design after, we've kind of determined what we want it to look like, that can count as a match. So a lot of times when we're working with county or the cities, they're counting that as a match, or perhaps their heavy equipment crew can do some of the work, even if it's kind of some of the rudimentary work. And that's what counts as a match, because you're not wrong. A lot of times, not everybody has $1,000 of cash lying around, so you're trying to meet that match with some in-kind work.
Pretty good. Okay, thank you.
My information, I can give it to you guys. You can write it down too. My cell phone is 801-234-9639, and I'm in the Springville DWR office. So if anybody needs to get a hold of me or ask questions, but I'd be happy to chat too.
What was that last?
801-234-9639. That's my work cell, so everybody's always welcome for shooting text or Jim's. What's that? Yes, sir.
We look forward to working with you.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yes, we had just a few comments on the last one. Steve left, I'm sure I misspelled the name or misspelled the name. He was wondering about interaction with the group that's trying to put the inland port out here. We don't have a lot of input to that. We can certainly talk to the county, and I'll talk to the county planner and see if there's anything we can do to impact that decision, discuss that decision. But that's not something we would normally deal with. Heather talked a little bit about helping us gather names and addresses for communication purposes, especially for seniors, and we appreciate all that help. We really want to make sure we got a broader base for our stuff. She also talked about confusion of the tax vote finality. What we did with the tax vote was set this rate, so we have a new rate set. There are adjustments down the line to be done. We'll talk about that in the budget hearing a little later. But that's up to the board in the future. I guess I get the next one too. Porterway for the gym updates, Portaway pickleball court bathrooms, we're going through the installation of all the amenities of that. The electrical is in place and functioning. The interior hookups are completed. Cement is finishing the final connections out there. That should be done this month, I was assuming, what they're going. We've had a couple inquiries about goose hunting. We did not issue permits this year. If the board has a burning desire to do that, we can revisit that at some point in time. Talking with the golf course staff, they didn't think that was a real need to do this year to eliminate the goose population by hunting. And there were some issues last year when that was done, so I think if we're going to do that again, we need to do a broader discussion about how we do it and what restrictions are on there. We've made the decision that generally we're going to close the golf course on December 15th. However, we are leaving the option up, this primarily for cost reasons, so we can have minimal staffing. If it does look like we're going to have a good weather day, we will open it to allow golfers to come out and take advantage of the weather.
We're going to talk about that a bit later.
Mill Pond Park, we are waiting on weather and county approval. It looks like we are not going to get that hooked up for flooding season, which bothers me a little bit. But that's where we are with how things played out. Go ahead.
So that's what after the.
Right.
Regrading that hillside or something. Northeast corner. And so he might be able to put the slope closer. I didn't know if you were aware of that.
Yeah, we have done some grading and sloping on the hill for safety reasons. So I saw he was out working today and tomorrow, probably Thursday, till it starts sinking again. I talked a little about the shoreline grant we're going to rework with Chris. We have 164K. We bought 3 docks. They were the floating type that he talked about. To install 2 would be for the swimming area, and 1 for the fishing area. That's going to be on that end of the clubhouse area. We did review the raise grant and got some information as to why we did not get that. For those who aren't aware of this, this was $1.5 million grant with about $500K matching money on our part. The idea was to rebuild the bridge and enhance the trail system within the park. We did receive an invitation to bid on the 2024 version. That would probably be executed in 2025 because that raise grant, they did not make the awards until August. So you would not really be able to do much until the following year other than planning and engineering. For those of you who aren't aware, we had one of the wells pumps go down, which caused some imbalance in the water. They've done some adjustments to those. We think we can fix that pump by buying a breaker part. So we bought the part, and next week we're going to try and install it and see if we can get that pump running up again. And we did. It was electrical. They had the motor quit function. So we thought the motor burned out. Turns out it may be a breaker issue. So we're going to replace the breaker and see if it's all. The Soundwall Trail project, I got a notice from UDOT that it's going to be requiring adjustment, which is good because it's in re-engineering right now. So what they're basically doing is they are expanding 36. And if you look at the area where they're expanding that affects us, it would push that sound wall to the west by about 8 to 9 feet, which would mean you can see where the sound wall trail was supposed to run down that section that's in yellow. So it would have to be moved to the west. So we're looking at redesign. We may run it out to the edge of the road or just off the edge of the road, run it down and still cross it. So that is in discussion with the engineers as to how that movement of that area is going to affect the design of the sound wall trail. And the last thing I have is snow removal issues, because we are short-staffed. I had the crew take a look at what areas we are traditionally removing snow from, that really is Mars. And, so they came back with some areas, typically we've been removing snow from all the way down Village Avenue. That adjacent area is not ours, ownership. They've sort of been doing it because it was a handshake agreement or something. I do not have the staff to do that. Okay, so we will not be pushing that snow and probably send letters to DJ.
So those, that area right there, the orange, if I understand it right, that's supposedly is the responsibility of the homeowner, even though they have a fence there and they don't have access to it.
That's correct.
Well, we heard about this before.
Or the HOA. So that's HOA.
Okay. So in the areas that are from the orange stops here on the left, it goes all the way up to or the
Right.
the orange there to the right, it goes all the way up to 36. Those areas there, can residents expect us, I mean, we plowed before, can they expect us to do it now or not?
Well, I don't have the people to do it.
No, I got that, I'm just saying.
I'm sure they will expect us to continue plowing.
Okay. But the orange area right there, we should never plow in the first.
Correct. That's one. There's another area that, again, we are plowing.
Oh, this is one of those, this is what.
This is. So again, we will not be plowing that area, and so I'm alerting everybody to expect to see some pushback because we're not going to do that anymore.
So what do we do?
Go ahead.
You mind if I interrupt you?
Sure, go ahead.
If we're not doing that in particular, there along Village Boulevard from the LDS Church down to that in
Yeah.
that sidewalk that was on that side is the only, my understanding, is the only walk path for people. We're not there, we were walking in the snow, we were walking in the wood. I forgot, and I know as well as you do. So, is there any help or any possibility that we can get? Some help from the county financially or something? Otherwise, I'm putting people up in a bad situation. I don't answer.
Yeah, that's, I talked to the county is adamant that belongs to whoever the adjacent property. And I pointed out that that's kind of absurd to expect somebody with a fence in the middle of that street and go around and plow that his little section. But I don't have a good answer, so if somebody's got an answer, I'll gladly have it.
So is the county maintaining that their responsibility is back and forth and that's it?
No, their responsibility is the sidewalk for repairs. For maintenance and whatever, that's the homeowners and the clearing snow, clearing grass, clearing vegetation, whatever. They're saying that is the responsibility.
But they are responsible, the sidewalk needs to be repaired. But outside of that, the responsibility is back and forth.
Yep.
Basically.
Yep.
Is this other side of the street, their HOA is already been,
Been plowing.
so this is definitely something we need to let people know about as much as we can.
So I guess we're in the fence, I guess
All these areas where we don't have people to plow, aren't our responsibility anyway, but they're the responsibility of the homeowner and the HOA.
That's among village, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All in one village, so if you live there, if your kids walk to school there, on village, make sure you talk to those HOAs.
You know, and maybe there is some kind of volunteer effort put out there. I'm just telling you, that's the area of cloud, that's the area that cloud has the problem.
Let me do some of the art shows, right?
Yeah, anything that's adjacent to our properties is our responsibility to plow. Some areas that are not in our responsibility because the plow's heading that way and he's got to go up and turn around, we're still keeping up. It just makes sense. There are other areas.
So like that's Village Park, right? So we all were talking about.
Yeah, so this is, this is the area from basically, I think, the fire station over 136.
This is from their office,
Right?
yeah, I would do that.
We don't do that now, everybody thinks we should, but it's, again, a discussion with the county about who manages that. And that's that same discussion we talked about, that they're saying, well, that's not our responsibility to plow, we'll fix the sidewalk. But we don't plow, we clean it up, you know, the other area is this one, along Lakeside. We've had discussions about that with some of the homeowners, that's another area that's particularly egregious in terms of overgrowth and snow. We haven't been doing it, people keep calling us and we say it's not our job. But that will, I think in some cases they've gone out and done some of that in the past, but by probably.
Hours in that will be all the way down the
No, thank God for some of the because we would really be in the trick of that.
Isn't there sidewalk on the opposite side of the road?
There is, but that does not seem to be as much of a problem as
The front of it.
Right.
So
behind it.
So I guess my point is that if they would cross the street, cross the side.
Yeah.
It was a place to walk.
That is an ongoing problem. How do we solve that problem? In those areas where they have butted back up against those lines, really nobody's taking responsibility. That's a discussion. Okay.
Is that effective now?
Huh?
Is that effective for it now?
Yeah.
So is there like, I just am curious, but navigation challenge, but those are all HOA areas.
No, not all of them. This is probably all private property.
Okay.
So what the county's rule is this is probably back to people's yards with fence down that road. And see, if I'm the middle guy in there, I gotta go all the way around and plow my little section, which is stupid. That's the county. I don't know how to fix it.
The orange that we need to tell people
Yeah.
about. The orange
This is the one that we've been doing that we're gonna have to knock.
Yeah.
So
There's
there's
gonna be a lot of confusion because you guys have been doing the lawns and leaves.
Yeah,
So they're
exactly.
gonna anticipate it, so versus like having people upset, what's the resolution to like, either informing those residents, you know, getting flyers, I'd be happy to go to the war. You know, I just feel like there's some mitigation that could be done to soften the blow, like Stansbury Improvement District is not the bad guys here.
Yeah.
We've done it, however, this is where it stands, so.
Yeah, we were talking about sending out a letter to those impacted HOAs.
Yeah, I was wondering about it.
But if the HOAs, even if the HOAs being affected, right, there's great HOAs and bad HOAs. So as far as Stansbury, in itself, it doesn't cost that much to print a piece of paper and go leave it.
No, and we can certainly do that, and we would love anybody that wants to go out.
We could probably have that ready tomorrow, right? Come pick up some flyers.
At least if you put it on the, if you have a list of the affected house numbers. So
Right.
and if you listed the affected house numbers.
But it's already here, right?
Yeah.
between here and here, we're not gonna plow those.
And I would also just think, do you know what I mean, that you're alerting people, because there's gonna be parents who don't live on those homes, right? And are just perform in that area, so we're gonna wonder what's going on, and I just really visited it, ridiculous amounts of all the emails, and I was on board, I wanted to get into it.
Yeah, so one of the reasons I did this tonight is we haven't had a lot of snow, and I wanna make sure people know about
Right.
it before we start getting dumped on. And so they're.
One of the big things is you maintain it, so that would be mine. Say, hey, you mow it, take care of the trees.
Yeah, we should.
You water it.
We probably.
Why aren't you doing the
No, I don't know, that's a thought, but-
I know you water it, I work.
Yeah, basically, if you look at this between Stallion, you got the park, you got strips of green belt, this little strip here, goes all the way to here and on down to the church, so we actually have a green belt there. Now, on the north side of the road, we do have sprinklers on the north side of the road.
Yep.
We've got grass that we mow there,
Now,
but,
on the fence side and the.
right, and then all the way down what I call the big turn until you get down to Mass. Our equipment can't get down those sidewalks because of the trees. So when I first started, I took a snow blower and did that entire section. And it ain't fun. But our plows literally cannot do those sections. You either hitting a tree or you're hitting the fence. And we end up having to maintain all of that running down the rabbit ditch. Because again, a lot of the kids step through there to go to school. So because those are our green belts, we also mow those, plow those. But basically anywhere where we don't have a park or this green belt, it's been handshake under the table forever on those. And again, we do maintain sprinklers down that side of the road.
But should.
But is that not?
But it's not our property.
That's my question.
Yes.
And that's.
So we should turn all of that over to.
Yeah.
That's what I said, it's a bigger discussion now.
Space here. We'll put the sprinklers in, there'll be some grass over there, nice, great, yes. I looked at last night, because of my thing.
The government survey is very specific that the properties are owned either by the HOA or by the homeowner all the way to the curb and gutter. Those areas.
On the county assessor, same old.
No, literally, it's got a dividing line between the county road and the property. There's no dead zone.
So there's a lot of stuff that we've been doing. Probably should be doing.
Well, you also have to think Stansbury for community, right? I mean, what do you want? No, that's not.
I'm sure that's what they do. But that adds to cost.
No,
It's also the liability issue, right?
you're working on another property.
Yeah. That's what they really want.
Okay. So at any rate, we're not planning on doing that unless somebody tells us to. And we get it out. No, it's the board. It's not. So we're going to do a lot of discussion about responsibility.
Well, then you mentioned, set up this,
not take.
I'm sure I understand the service agency responsibility for it.
We've done a lot of it, as I'm saying, so we act, being a good neighbor. But we don't go so far.
We have a few of these in the city that we
Yeah.
hang around. And yes, it hurts, but bottom line, we want to get kids safe. So our compromise is we'll do one side.
We are.
But you're not doing one side down here.
Okay. December financials. We have $64,000 left for the year. And so it looks like we're supposed to get tax money that happens following weekend, so we'll have some reserve. The problem is, we will talk about this in government and budget. The problem is that will slide up that cost over. So that's sort of really. I guess I will. So we didn't really do much for 2023 amended budget. We talked with the state auditor, and he said, yeah, if you're not going to be able to balance it because you're you're behind when you started, we noticed the problem. Probably not much need doing the amended budget. We did one anyway. That is for the board members. That is on Dropbox, but Ingrid is adjusting that. So Anna and I agree. We think we need to put that budget next time, just to say what it is. I passed that out. I think in September, October. Hasn't changed much, but Ingrid has been shuffling monies around. So we'll try and get the finalized version in the Dropbox on Friday. Yeah, and we gave you a copy in the packet. So I just want to get everybody pointed it that way. Yeah, we probably. That's the goal, is to do a 2023 amended budget as well as the 2022 budget. That is also in your packet, and we will get that on the website so everybody wants to look at it, they can see it. Here are some highlights. I just highlighted some stuff because everybody's aware we won't get the actual funding until December, so the budget's going to be backloaded. That means that we may have to do some shuffling throughout the year to make sure we can get stuff done. But the intent is to stay within that budget until we get funding in December. This year, the budget is broken down by functional area. That was not done last year. So you will see a budget line item for each of the functional areas, like the recreational area, which is the parks and green belts, golf course, pool. All those will be broken down by functional budget. Within functional area within the budget, we are tracking expenditures by project numbers, so we can identify how we are spending those monies. Impact fees, we included what is known. Most of that is existing grants that work that started this year, continuing next year. The only new project we've added on to that is Oscar's Boost, work at Oscar's Park. Everybody understands that for most of the year we're going to be operating on a reduced budget, so that means talking about Discussion with, the auditor, one of the things that they brought up is, it is the board responsibility, not the general manager, the general manager to set the things. This is a, ramification issue, so if the board says, I want you to do A, B, C, you've got an extra code, because that's the board responsibility. So that's not been done in the past. To support that, Darren and the board are putting together a one-in list of those items that need to be done with costs, and then we will probably have the capital projects group use that maintenance system we developed early last year to prioritization. Use that prioritization system, bring that back to the board, and they can set requirements.
So we're this item here is talking about repairs on facilities, as well as to use that. More broke down, I got a wheel or whatever. We're not talking about that. We're talking about things that are systems that we are trying to get back into.
For example, all those busted rails that we were showing, all of that's going to be prioritized. The final budget decision depends on three decisions. One of those is the pool. We open it. That's going to be the source of discussion because we know it's at the end of its lifetime. We know it's going to be a lot of cost. The operation, what level of risk are we willing to accept open pool? And golf course, where we go with the golf course, we've got some discussions about how we're going to manage the golf course. And the sports fees, the board has a sports fee schedule. We've had some pushback from local sports teams that want some relief from that. That's going to be a board decision if they want to back off those fee levels, which will impact how we do. Those three decisions have to be made by the board. Just some other guidance. The state auditor said, whatever we do, we got to manage the budget so that we can prepare the safety. Whatever you do, cover that first. We should build the budget. The second priority is to build the budget so from year to year to year, talk about the operation area. You should have 1 year budget plus 3 months plus 5%. If we use 3.2 as the required cost to maintain all the stuff we have to make, that would be that each year we would turn over 4.2. So we get your taxes at the end of the year. That would be the bulk of that. But basically, what you're doing is operating on last year's taxes. Following year, he also suggests that we build long-term contingencies, capital projects, which is major. And so, like, if we want to rebuild the bridge, got a grant to do most of that. We needed $500,000 in money. We have that money in the capital projects fund. Operation and maintenance is the standard repetitive stuff that Clubhouse, the high traffic area, which probably replace it for 5 years. Build that into your own in budget, so you're paying for it up front, so you have to replace it. That money's available. Third item is repair and reserve, repair and replace. That is like we got to pay boilers. they recommended that we stay at the maximum tax rate. I'm not sure the board's willing to do that, but that is their recommendation.
Talk to you but one of the things I didn't quite feel was when you're looking for long-term it seemed to me that the way to make sure that that money belongs there. But that we would have that this one set part line item. Most of the federal government gives them social security all the time. They would have that there, the money would be there. And you can percent would have to take the line. That's the bill says, this is such a disaster for that.
That's correct. Once we put it in capital projects, say there is a capital project, unless you need to do a reprogramming act, that reprogramming act has to be done by opening the board. Capital projects operate. That's why they're building those as long-term support stuff. I know when I first started, we take that about $100,000. That's all.
Whether they use it appropriately, we don't know. I'm not sure. What's the tax?
So I'm just saying,
My point is that if we build the money into whatever sort of whatever, if the bank money stays there, and that's there, it's actually beyond the care. That's the reason I think she did it, and place this quickly as possible, as opposed to just having a lump sum.
yes,
Just usually that's all that we need.
yeah, what you're doing is you're designating those funds to be used for that project. And that project. Yep. What's interesting is those three breakouts are two operations. Our name says we staff. So that's the basis. I don't know if anybody wants to talk about anything tonight. About it. Guys, have, I'm assuming most people haven't.
Stansbury services, quite a bit of time in today, and part of that is that that's- Right. We get there, how we get there, well, not today. So, really tight. It's after it's we just got that I think it's gonna be a tough year.
Please mention one of the things the state auditor said in the past is the one who said, look, you're probably going to take a finding for 2023. Probably not with your hand. But if you can go and say, look, we understand we have a problem, we've identified the problem, we put a fix in place for the problem, that moderates that finding. What they're trying to do is make sure that we provide a realistic budget that sticks to the state. So that's the basis for a lot of these comments that he's giving us, that moving forward, we need to plan for realistic budget and So,
James, did you mention anything about doing a 5 or a 10-year capital project plan so that you know exactly what you're doing?
yes, and that's one of the, when you talk about capital projects, that's one of the things you have to build capital projects on that project. That tells you what you need in a capital project.
So you're doing an additional budget based on those items?
Well, it's not, it's part of it. It's not. Those different line items and that would be supported by the capital. Okay, and the idea is to get the finance committee to take a closer look at this. I would encourage all the board members and any people from the public who are really interested to come in and spend time with them. She knows this thing backwards and forwards. So this is John from the testing today. We sat down for an hour and a half. John went through all of his questions. I think it was useful, and sometimes it pulls something up that we hadn't thought about. So I think that's good. So the plan is to approve a 2023 amended budget and 2024 budget next Wednesday, so we can have those in place. Fraud questionnaire, this was on the agenda. We made the decision last time that him and the finance committee would do that. I just wanted to double check and make sure we're still on track to do that this year. Maybe.
So is that just going to go out by the time?
Yes, they will. The way we're going to do it, this is everybody's working on what we do here. They're going to fill out the form, and then we will approve it. So they'll see what the previous board had done, and then they will approve that.
So is this based on what we did in 2023?
Yes. It's looking back.
Planning to do in
Correct. It's a review of 2023. That's why we needed we need to do the questionnaire. And the other board to see it so they know where we are.
just that those two. I looked through it. I was trying to do it today. I was like, geez.
Yeah.
I didn't have any answers on these projects.
So that's the plan. I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware. Clubhouse rental agreement. You have a draft rental agreement that was prepared by Brent Rose. I think the reason that's in there is we will ask for formal approval of that. Next time, there was some research about we've done that already. We couldn't find any record of it, so that is the formal agreement that we can use for Clubhouse rental.
I have two, three questions. So if you look at page 3 of 7, you got it there. Page 3 of 7, you go down to I think it's paragraph 3, so paragraph D, usual and policies. Let's see. No, I'm looking at number 2. I understand number 1. Number 2, it says any music or other sound generated by a licensee or invitee must be controlled as so as to not disturb neighboring residents, businesses as determined by the licensor, or that's us, at its sole discretion. I wondered, I thought that the county had a noise ordinance in place that says so many decibels is considered out of compliance or something. My mistaken, that doesn't exist in the county. Can we use that and insert that in this case? Because if I have to determine by the lease, if I'm responsible to determine by the lease or at the sole discretion, that seems pretty, could be considered arbitrary, capricious.
probably what we should talk about, but that's probably a good time, we could probably insert the county requirement.
So we have, I'm pretty sure that when I was there, we made that ordinance. See the show,
I'm pretty sure it is, we got tasked with that during the Stansbury days. So we'll review it and make sure that's in place.
Okay, so that's item, page 3, item 3. And then the other question was, on page 4. I guess it's 3. The 5, use of alcohol on the license terms. And it goes along and talks about various regulations. I wasn't quite sure I understood why this was in there. It says the bartender is like third, fourth line down. Bartender shall not be allowed to consume any alcohol during the event. Alcohol shall not be allowed to be served by the shop. Okay. What do they call them? What do they call that? Just clarify that one, because I don't get it. Because I'm thinking that they can serve. Trying to understand. What's he trying to tell me? Anybody know?
You want to speak to that, right?
Well, it's just a matter of,
I didn't know if I was here.
it's just a matter of, it's just a matter of deciding, what you want to do. Probably having alcohol served is reliable for what comes. And so, these are some regulations that I've used with some of the clients. The weather session, center of the world.
Right.
And that's how they wanted it, so that's what I put in here, just a suggestion, you can change that.
Well, I'm not saying I should change it. I'm not sure I understand what it said about the shot. Does that mean that if I ask for drink last, he can't serve it to me that way? Is that what it's trying to explain to me? Because to me, it's not any different than if I give you a beer bottle. So please explain.
I'm not a drinker, so I don't understand.
It sounds like-
It doesn't recommend alcohol.
Yeah, you can't have raw spirits.
Yeah, just straight it out.
If you're serving like shot, yeah, it's a hard.
There's a board
It's a
amount.
Beer in a bottle has a percentage content.
It's a DABC.
Yeah.
So you can't go and say, I want a shot of whiskey.
Whiskey, and they'll just pour straight whiskey right in the bottle.
Okay.
You have to make it cold, you mix it.
Okay.
So they meter the shot, even if you go to.
Thank you, folks.
I know, I just.
Yeah. No, I know, it's, you're trying, you know, okay, in terms of the shots, whiskey,
Your input for shots will come.
That was, I read everything else on the table.
I'll make that change, that means that. You can just make that as a policy, so if you decide it's too noisy, it's your discretion, but if you want to put specifically the county's noise ordinance.
So on a legal liability perspective, usually with most places that do events or rent events, weddings, ceremonies, birthday parties, etc., they do it on either you have to control the amount of alcohol per content per your amount of guests, or you have to do it on a meter basis where you have to actually have a licensed bartender that knows what they can serve and what they can't serve. So that sometimes makes it around the shop conversation.
Provision of party license.
It's
in license bartenders.
Yeah, and so usually they already know what they can serve anyway. When you
I'm
So we
comfortable.
can take that.
Well, I just leave it in there.
As a licensed bartender, but now that I understand, I know what you're saying, it's a shot. So
Yeah, you want some years control.
yeah, I got it. I'm happy with what I got.
Usually that's under the DABC, you can just quote from their website if you want to go technical.
And I think that may be more than good.
Yeah.
we took out most of our, we want to keep our fees like we need to, right? So, I think it's just the extra hours a week on under section 4.2, or has that 10%. With an extra hours fee of $100 per hour. But I think we can just fill that in.
Theoretically, you're gonna sit down and disagree with the purpose of the rent.
Yeah.
And you're gonna go through these, you're gonna fill out some of those things, right? How long you gonna be, set time, if you wanna go beyond this time, it's gonna cost you.
Right. But it is like take out that number.
Yeah, just theoretically, you're gonna have some of your supervisors, so you're gonna take them.
So.
I have a quick question. So is there an option, I mean, for what's been written or what's proposed before it's actually passed, as a case for the person that's actually considering getting married here? Just looking at it and say, what would I sign up to as a patron, rather than just some legalese? Is there an option to do that before it's actually passed?
We're not passing anything tonight.
Okay, I'm just wondering what
Yeah,
the
that's why we
society.
have this work meeting usually, so we
Yeah.
can get to
Okay.
look through.
However that works, I just wanted to know, because my question initially was, how do I rent this place? I wanted to be married here. Now that we're having this conversation, this would be nice to know, you know.
This one, you propose these form of contract on your.
Yeah, you come into rent,
Yes.
you come into rent, we'll have this document and the person renting to you will walk through it.
Yeah, I'm just, I mean, I would look at it, July, of course, but then it's part of the patron line too. Just to see, because it's, you know, we're weird and redundant.
And this is a great place for wedding and marriage.
I'm just saying.
There's this under. That's good.
Okay.
And then it's our little, just a little bit, so you don't forget something. And that first paragraph is the Stansbury recognition service.
What's that?
So it's like, there's an extra one.
Oh, for first paragraph, we're going. I appreciate that.
Okay. No further comments, Venmo. So, I can work on two deals. Yeah, that would be now. She's looking at it, I told her. Okay. Venmo, you want to explain the Venmo?
Me?
You're a good one.
We just have one where we've had, like, for example, the Christmas event that we're holding. Sometimes it's easier for people in this day and age to pay with Venmo. And so we're wondering if that's an option for the service agency in the Venmo account to collect payments, like, there's the Santa would be $1. To collect that rather than requiring people to come with cash, or we have our flow first, they can pay with card, but there's fees with the card, whereas, I don't know, it'd be something that we would look more into. Jim just wanted us to present to the board if it's something the board want to potentially.
There's still fees on that.
If you do, and depending on how you do, you have to look at the cost.
There's IRS regulations. Yeah, they have a Venmo interface, so we just set that up. Maybe, I think they would add the service charge on top of it. Oh, they take it away. Okay. Then we
So
should-
if somebody puts in, business, if I pay for it. So, there's a fee that's attached to that, so that does $50. 99 cents.
So you have to set your fees in anticipation of the cost.
There's a cost, there's also a cost of flow, so anything you collect fees on, there's a cost. So we just wondered if there was interest in the board doing that. If it is, we'll quantify the fees. So.
Yeah.
No, got familiar with that one. But, so I talked to my bank. So, what is it, tell me what's going on? How's it work? And for perhaps I'm not understanding exactly how you want to do it, or you think you want to do it. But to me, you know, we have to be able to track that money. What, you know, in and out, however it's coming to us, however it's going out. It's not necessarily a straight paper trail, we have to just do it monthly print out or a daily print out or something like that. That's the curve, so that you have, that's something we have to, as I understand.
Yeah, it's a report that you get, you know, it's like at the pool, a lot of parents now send their kids with that cash, to just have, you know, instant app. Clover, we use for merchants, have an app, but it's not a lot of people use a Clover app. So we're trying to find an app that most people would have.
So how do we use it directly? Are we trying to use this to pay a vendor out here on a food truck or what? I mean,
Other
what I'm
items,
concerned about is.
there are people with items, people with using them.
Like,
So-
just see them.
So if we have a Christmas bazaar and we've got some pictures for Santa, and parents there and they want to pay for their child, but they only have an electronic phone, they only have their phone. They could pay with Venmo off their phone as opposed to hands.
Well, I'm careful because there's national, I want to make it safer for us. That's the bottom line. I don't want my money being stolen out of here like it was before. I don't want, so I'm trying to protect it.
Yeah,
And that's the thing I'm worried about. I don't really give a damn if it's more convenient. I don't. What I care about is making sure we don't get screwed again.
I think it's safer than having to keep track of cash. There's a report that gets pulled, you go directly into the Stansbury Service Agency's account.
so you have a record of the deposit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What prevents them from being able to take it backwards?
They,
If you have the business account.
Right.
They do.
there's a whole process whereby if they say, hey, I didn't get this, then there's a whole adjudication process. It's not just like- So,
So somebody's paying me and I'm supposed to get $100 and it's about 1% or something. I'm only going to get $9.
same thing, credit card,
Yeah.
be on that. And then up down the other options, have a lot of cash. hanging around, you know.
Like for the pool, we had a
Right,
report
yeah,
that
yeah.
cash from the bank.
You wanna get away from cash, we use credit cards and online.
Use them,
No. We use credit cards and on the online, so they pay online.
oh, with,
Is it possible if you set up an account that you can, that it's not tied directly to your remaining checking account, if you will, so that it goes into a subordinate account when it goes into there, so they don't have direct access to all of them. They don't have access.
that's basically
Is
what,
that possible?
that's basically what Venmo is. It's a third party payer service. So in other words, they don't pay me directly. They pay Venmo, and then Venmo pays us. So there is a third party in between the two. It's just like PayPal or any of those, or a credit card. There's a entity, a business entity in between the person buying the service and us.
So we have a Venmo account.
PayPal has a better adjudication.
What's that?
PayPal has a better adjudication process.
Okay, so let's step back a little bit here. Business processing fees, standard merchant rate, 1.9% plus 10%, very similar to processing fee, merchant rates. They don't have it. Either way, they would take a portion. This is where we got into trouble with having this outline PayPal account cause the fraud. So to your point, yes, it's a safer than cash is. But if we were to adopt the Venmo account, it wouldn't be any different than a Clover or anything like that. but it would be required to reconcile that account. So, to be able to, the second thing is we would also, one thing I do want to keep here, limit access to it, right? So when people have access, would be a business manager. And eliminate any other access to it, it's not people.
Jim, you might just check the state on this.
I
think it wouldn't be that common.
I assume you would have to connect to business, a checking account or bank. So you can deposit funds to the.
Yeah, eventually, just as. I was thinking that they could come directly into your checking account.
But we do have a risk for chargebacks, right? Just like we would with Clover or anything like that, right? If the person files a chargeback on their credit card, the credit card processor would someone else kind of go in and start to say, hey, did this happen or did this not? Then they would potentially refund that customer. The difference is with Venmo is they do have to scan the QR code. There's a little bit more contingencies upon actually happening, right? Rather than just someone's so you might even have some with the Venmo.
So is it? So you don't set it up, you're saying. I asked the question, do you have a Venmo account that's like this? And the money goes into there, and then when I want that money to go from here to my checking account, I call up or I transfer it to that checking account. Is that the way it's set up, or is it Venmo is this? And it holds the money, then it comes directly into my checking.
I can talk about the accounting of the Stripe, and that's what we use for any online purchases. They make a deposit once they get to certain they make a deposit themselves into our checking account when it has reached a certain amount or a certain time that has set on the account. And you keep a reserve just in case there is refunds. Like when we had the pool closure, we had started taking money for the lessons. We had to refund those, and they only refunded when there was enough money into their portion. Does that make sense? But I cannot go to Stripe and let them know that I want them to deposit the amount into my account. They do that themselves.
So, even if we limited those to, let's say, the general manager and what's to prevent them from being able to clean out my whole bank account?
Well, it's no different than the credit card. So we have that set up so it's a two-person event.
Okay, so you can set that up.
We should validate it as soon as they
Yeah.
same process.
I've got the question. We didn't have that before.
We didn't have it before, but we only had one person managing our plans.
Okay, got that.
That was
not like that name again, so.
correct. Everything we set up is two-person, at least two-person.
That's one of my questions. I'm not sure I like the idea, but you've got to say that's my question. So it makes it a little more.
Yeah. It's just facilitated, and you know, I understand why they would. I use them, so I'm more comfortable.
The kids, all the kids market their Stansbury or something like that. About more stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so I'm thinking the consensus is to pursue this and get more information before we actually agree to it. Is that correct? That what I'm doing?
Yeah. Yeah, research checks and balances.
Yeah. Snow shack renewal. So the snow shack contract calls for them to go April to August.
I think the contract is in the packet.
Oh, the contracts in the pack. Massive.
Motion is back to you. I don't see it's not.
Hammond's gone.
Which page you on?
I think it's 6, 7, 9.
The one talking, the one talking.
Okay, so it runs like through the 4th of September, but he still has stuff stored in the shack out there. It was a fixed rate to do that with contracts from now, so this contract, I think, is up for renewal in April. Why don't you explain this? Probably outside of my.
I was going to give my group reference. So the contract that was written was for a period of 5 months commencing on the 10th day of April, expiring at midnight on the 31st day of August. Term of lease.
Okay, got it.
And she's not, and then there's something about the waiting time. But he, even though he signed a contract, he didn't bring his eyes shut until maybe it was in the end of May. So he only paid 3 months, even though we signed a contract for 5 months. So we sent him a letter, and also within the contract, we have a little shed by the entrance on the side of the building. And he's renting that to store his equipment for $50 a month. When he left in August, he left all his stuff in the shack. So he didn't take us the 5 month contract, and he left his stuff and has not kept paying $50. So we sent him an email letting him know that we had changed the lock. He needed to pay the remainder of what he owes us. And he replied back to that email. Here's what he said, email.
He was told by the previous GM that he did not have to pay for the month of April because of the weather, and that he could store his stuff for however much he needed. But he understood that that was the contract. Once I told verbally that was what could happen. So it felt that it was the board together and decide what like have in terms of collecting payment. Maybe not the payment that the contract states is due. And if you guys are okay with keeping stuff in the shed, typically we store all of the ice melt in there, so that's taking away storage. Those are the two things. He was really great. He understood. I told him that after the board decision on it, we'll have a conversation, but that's what he was.
Okay, you lost Rick.
My initial reaction is obviously we should pay for the time to store the stuff. Do we even something that obviously.
And that
we
way-
have other things that we can.
He said he's not, the ice not there again. He would not,
But he doesn't want to.
and when I talked to him 2 weeks ago, and said we keep the ice melt as a.
So I guess the bottom line is not.
So I mean, he's using that before. And also, I think there's a few things with the date. And it wasn't effective till the 15th, like, but of course, he's not gonna pay for time to. Stuff to you, that wasn't. Right.
Cooperation, so start until, was it last year, second?
So even you, this is second year they're running, she's doing this.
Oh, I thought this was
She
second.
took over the sometime last
it's right, versus anything here, like this, business. People are out there, jumping, people like out there, but they. So it doesn't seem to be that it makes any sense.
You paid us 3 months, 15 months. It's $450 plus $50 commission. That is, I had a problem, I went to $1,000.
Our feeling is that amount is low.
Very low, very low.
I think we should share this work. It's either my place or in his garage. It's in his place over there, in his garage. It's his garage. So over here, guess what? Something happens, that shit person, I guess, is responsible for a lot of crap. We are.
Anyway, that's, I had Kelly an email because I was going by contract, and so, and then he still had stuff. I did not look at the figures, you know, that was not included in the contract. That's why. Right, Jim. Right, there's the price for rent.
Well, basically, look at our operating ones.
And we gave all the
So in his email, he said he opened page 4, 2023. Page 4, so he. So he.
Please. I have a feeling. So at any rate, so I think we're agreeing with you, so. You also told us to have
I guess you gotta give them some slack. Promise. Your business, handshake or promise is good as always. You understand? Some slack.
Yes.
So this is the 5-year, this option was.
You can see the coming.
I like it,
I think that was part of this.
service.
He also talks.
He said, part,
Okay, so I just need some guidance from what we're gonna do right back. When we say that. So what I think I'm doing is taking the name on says that this won't be. We're willing to rent the shack through the winter, but it's $50.
I guess I can go 6 months on that.
Yeah, I think you, but we don't just have a shit up there, just see.
Yeah, he understands. He understands that there was no sign. Admin fees.
So I've been working on the website and I'm working on site for the grandma. So grandma request on 2 days because I said that earlier. But we have the option to charge for photocopies if people charge, but we don't have that in our policies. So I wanted to ask the board if they want to do that. And then the pricing, we offer that for free. But I have been asked once to do this, to do it after regular hours, and it was off-site. And so I was talking with a friend that used to work for Twila City, and she said that we should charge for that if it's not done during office hours. I can, with it. But anyway, that's something that we do not have on our fee schedule, so I just wanted to bring it up to the board and see if they wanted to first offer that service after hours and offsite, and then what they would want to charge for that. Well, as long as we do that policy, then I'm completely fine. I mean, I'd rather not do it, but.
That's what we're saying.
An example of what happened was, I was asked to a residence to sign papers to notarize papers that we can sign. That didn't turn out to be needed, but that was something that I was asked to do. I'd rather not to because the agency pays for my law.
Yeah, I don't think that.
We're dropping one of the services we provide as well as service. Anybody wants.
Yeah, for free. That's what Target wanted to offer that as a service. We have not advertised it.
I'm not sure I would ever able to drop.
That's what Mary used to.
I don't know.
I guess Mary used to do that. Teresa used to do that. The front asked me to do so I took the
That
test.
is a good idea. I just want to say that I'm not sure that's something the service is.
I've done it for several people here. They have come here, not right.
I think the notary should only be. Yeah, you only notarize service agency documents. And then when you look at the.
But the board member
Yes. But that's what I recommend also.
So we could do a policy, but we should do
If you're on fees, you should have fees for travel
If we
requests.
don't
I just see what people charge.
So much now, there's so much out.
That is one thing we have a grandma that took hours of looking for paperwork. But we don't have anything in our fees, so that was one thing that I wanted to bring up.
The statute says, I suspect Phyllis is doing it. So this will go over to the policy board.
That's their special.
C plus special district association.
Pool closure. As I mentioned in the briefing on the budget, the board has to make a decision. Are we going to try and open the pool this year? At what level of service do we want to? Right now, in the budget, we have pool opening, but with no improvements to the pool deck. Risk. Not sure whether the town will certify that. Easiest thing is to decide as a board, we're going to try and shoot for that, and go from there. Decision now. Part of the decision process is does repeat. So we would be public capital. My thought was, let's go farewell to the pool party. That was my suggestion. I know the right board members. That pool is.
I know it's a crack in the bottom.
Yeah.
I understand that. What else? That's been done that way for years.
Yeah, the problem is, the only thing keeping the water in the pool right now is the fact it's still below the water level, and so the water pressure from the lake is. So we're getting water exchange between the lake and the pool.
That was happening when we took the pool territory.
So, we've had a number of people look at that. The last time they did a pool resurface, that lasted less than a season before the cracks reappeared. And the engineer that I had look at it told me what's happening is that as that rebar is degrading, it's creating pressure that's splitting the pool apart. Eventually that pool will split apart as pressure involved in that rebar degrading and materials migrating.
So Kyle, it's like when we have people concrete all the time. Yeah, moisture gets to it, and then it starts to get balls along the rebar. Causes the rebar to rust, and that rust is what causes the concrete pop. Whether, I don't really think this one split the pool apart, but it'll
Start popping.
yeah, in order to pop. So that's what happens.
So it is degrading rapidly at this point.
How does it work mechanically? Is it the same in terms of the chemical distribution?
We're doing okay with the chemicals, and we're not dumping chemicals into the lake.
Well, there is some, but
there's an
Hey,
exchange.
I'm talking about, I saw anybody in the school who gets sick. Okay.
But we are using word,
Yeah, but not,
but it's costly.
Yeah, that's been going on for a while.
when Brent and I were doing it, small town, same problem.
This has been going on. Like I said,
It
since-
may be worse. And we'll say that it's not. But we've been playing this game since 1985.
I'm sure if we can do better, because it's still operating.
Well, not only that, it's got 3 or 4 boilers.
Yeah, I'm sure, I can't say that thing, I honestly, it's got a coat hanger wire and touch.
Yeah.
Will be good.
There's no broken pipes, heater works.
Yes.
The heater works now, we replace it last.
So now you've got that investment, but just run the pool and build it.
There's no lips on the deck.
Well, the deck would probably have some service at some point. It is rust and it should be, so I think probably that's a 10K repair for that can be replace the diving board.
So that's the only pool in the county. Outdoor pool in the county, can we make some money on the pool?
Well, that was my hope.
That's right.
So last year, we made, what we make last year, 8,000, we did, we were open a month and a half or something like that.
The cost is more than that.
Because all of it.
Lost money, but one thing about the recreation business, every city provides a park, provides no revenue, it's a service provided to the community, so breaking even, we're doing good on this kind of.
So I think the trade-off, right, is we didn't know people, we didn't accept. Use the 50,000. Organic, is that what you're thinking?
That was-
Organic or, Jim has different ideas to.
That's up to you.
Yeah, that's why I said it's a board decision. Where do you think we gotta go? So
Although
I know there's a lot of people who feel that's our job. We pick that asset up, we're responsible for it. We gotta make it functional.
Then we charge a rate that covers it, say, hey,
Yeah, we did up the rates a little bit.
Because can you actually have a swimming pool? If you in the real world, if you could build a new pool, could you build it there?
Well, I'll tell you, to rebuild, you probably wouldn't want to rebuild it there.
That's what I'm saying, I'm not sure that's the best place for all of it, hydraulic things going on between the lake.
So we talked about if we had to rebuild it, we'd probably rebuild it elsewhere, or you could build that area up and with fill, that'd be more costly. So there's a lot of discussion about which ultimately. The question is, for this year's budget, does the board feel we ought to move forward with the pool or not? That's sort of a binary decision. So,
Our charter says we exist to provide free space and recreation. That is what it is. You see how many people line up specifically when that pool is opening, right? The day we announced the building, every evening was booked out, everything was ready. And we raised rates because it needed to be for a while, but I think that's what we need to do. I think we need to enter the water as long as we can. Otherwise, that's just gonna be a pit. That's gonna look pretty.
If you don't, pretty close to the floor, you fill it in with dirt.
We don't have the money to do that.
why don't we consider this? I believe that we ought to keep moving forward, but I believe that we need to get really serious about looking at replacement options and location. And I'm happy to give you some suggestions from an architectural firm that just finished a great pool system over it. Yeah. And, obviously they gotta help, but at least they would be able to say, their side of the pool would be it outside or inside or something. We look for some options other than what we've got and try to do it as quickly as we can. And maybe that becomes one of our big focus, maybe, that, hey, the next best thing we gotta do is we gotta fix. We gotta take that amenity do another or something. As opposed to just saying, okay, well, we're gonna keep it open with all, right, that's what I would suggest. And I think, until we know, I'm happy to get that guy out here and look at this and have him offer suggestions to us. And we can shoot at it, and we can say, share the land in front of the we can't do that. That's my.
I don't know. We're gonna be dealing with this.
I will. Personally, I think there's some other bonding material, technology changed a lot.
Yeah.
And, fixing the bottom,
There are some line options.
Yeah.
It's not something that's cheaper than a new issue.
What are you gonna put that in your capital budgets, thing you were just talking about, start looking towards the, so you could issue a bond and make part of it with your own cash.
They have, I understand, some of them,
They're not quite-
they don't want to, so.
They're willing to put forth money to build pools. They just don't want to have to manage. They want to be one-time money in and out.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking about what they've got, guys. They've got an internet pool for high school that's coming in. Pool already exists, Grantsville already exists, Stansbury already exists. They're gonna put four swim teams up there in that pool up there. They've got enough.
You remember the year they put a bubble over this one, so that little high school, swim team could swim here and
Yeah, my kid was out there, couldn't speak, doing that. So, it's gotta be done. And as you say, if there's a way to, first of all, we could find out what kind of cost we're looking at. And we can entice them to come along with us. Maybe that's our answer.
First thing you can do, in a local agreement with school district, they're government land, they make it quite cool. So you could do it really. Sure. In a local agreement with them to fund it, if we could come up with a way to do it. If they got seed money, you'd be willing to manage it, and, they have time reserved for them.
Well, and then, right now, the high school, before there was all high schools involved, for the high school, and the Total City, they would contribute money to the operation of the pool, so-called rent it, for so many months a year. And Total City operated, they were getting some money every year from the school to operate. And that's the same thing we can.
The only problem is pools are kids.
Well, so is the golf course.
They don't make money, and so everybody's going to slack.
Well, I can't hold a swim meet in the splash pad.
Well, the other thing is they're starting to close.
Both is there.
Yes.
Because they're not cost effective.
And that would have us bacteria runoff of water. If they're not maintained, right?
I mean,
I'm not saying that.
Yours are working on.
We don't have, we accountants. We don't have. So we just
Oh, I'm almost put out.
close that.
I think there's a things you can explore.
Okay.
The only thing
That's
that,
what I-
either you want to close or culture.
Yeah, we could go where my tool stuff is in the house. You can open that, you can open up the website.
Oh, you know.
You can't swim outside, you can't go outside.
Well, I want the one I had in Germany where they.
That's why I don't like that.
That's a little more than.
But they would also have to have water.
Yeah, one of these days, talk about maybe doing their own vacation farms, have one.
Well, and the other thing that you can think about, if you look,
So I can say is no. Then if they don't say no, then it goes to, you could,
But right, in their newspaper that they send out once a month, the newsletter, you look at all the activities they got going in their pool, they got a ton of things for people year round. Exercise, swim size, and bike parks, all kinds of things happening out there year round. And they, well, and they're not necessarily making money, but they're contributing to the loss.
Okay, so we're gonna leave that in the budget as is. Library support, another function of the budget. Right now, we're giving library minimum support. Basically, it's following from that. The question is, they've come and asked for some additional email addresses.
Yeah, so currently, finance committee, update that we give them support, and that is in your budget. Site court, yeah. And the 5,000 that is counting the 4,000 grant that they want to apply for, they have not received it yet. But it sounded pretty promising that they would receive it. So it's actually $1,570 that we are giving them support. They have grown, the board has now 7 members. And so if we were to keep paying for their emails, which we have done for 3 of them, it would be an additional $400.
So the question is, you want the $400 in budget for emails for them or not?
But that means I have to put $400 from somewhere else.
And they can't use any $4,000 to that.
No, it's very restricted what it can do. It's from the color recreation, it's mainly for the summer reading program. So purchasing books and the price of that.
So these guys would have, they're asking us to provide them with an email to people that already have email, but we just want to be able to do it inside of the library.
Right now, the Stansbury Park board, that's the email we have given them. It's under our umbrella. So they could do outside of the, Gmail.
Which is a bigger discussion, right? So in our charter is, green space, recreations, and does the library fall under this? The county says no, right? But I think this does a service that we appreciate, we think is good for us, so I think it's good to provide road, building space, internet, electricity, that type of stuff in utilities. But the next step is, are they part of Stansbury Park service agency? That's the overarching question to answer first and foremost. Start handing out these emails.
So I think the answer is no.
So that's it. Why not just get a personal email and use that? Why does it have to be
Well, I think as a minimum, they were looking for one email. So that as the library send information out to people.
But they already have 2, like, what do they have?
They currently have 4 emails. They have for 3 board members, and they have the one that Patty used to have as a library.
So why do they have to have another one? I mean, if you got 3, you ought to be able to, what can't they do what you're asking to contact or the card holders? I don't get it.
So
Seems like there's enough hours in the day.
Diane,
You gotta go do it.
Diane was not, she is the chair of the board. She did not know where the board stood as far as, helping with the library. So she sent us an email asking to have an email for each of our new board members. I replied back that I had, worked on the budget committee, whatever the finance committee had said. And she was a little surprised. And so, and I kind of, and so Jim decided, she decided to bring it up to the board, and I know what the board wants to do. So we are giving them an email, then keep the tiny cat. Tiny cat is a software that allow them to check books out and in. If they don't have that, that would be really hard, and it's $120 sounds a lot of cost. Email addresses are about $100 a piece. They have a Dropbox, that's where they all their file information. I have tried to find ways to bypass, like I've done a divorce, and so I can do that again with them to save them money. What else are we paying for? We gave them $120 for supplies, it was mainly ink. And paper, sometimes they use our copy machine. In the summer, they do a lot of photocopies for the kids. And I don't remember what else we have on that. Oh, and their phone lines, they have a phone line. And the budget thing for that is $700. And they have, so this is me trying to spread, they use our internet, so I have divided our total amount of our internet bills between the cemetery, the library. They pay a very small portion, and then we as the agency in office would pay a big portion. So that was what's included in that budget. So
Right, so long term, when I read this on this, right, we can't be there sponsoring.
Well, we can, but we would have to change our interlocal agreement. So,
We have,
question is,
no, you have, you know, really, you have to change. You've got certain powers, you count with 2 service areas. And those service area powers don't have anything to do with life. You know, and then the agency only exists to operate the service areas stuff. You know, so there really isn't, you know, you can lease them a space in the building, and that lease can be whatever you, should be a fair market value. Look inside, you can lease that, give them the space to operate. In terms of, I just don't know, I don't care. But it's not a lot of money, but I'm not sure you should be.
And Fred, I appreciate it.
It's kind of like shoveling snow.
This is
Right?
what
You don't know if you shovel it, then after a while, they expect.
So that's I appreciate it, and I'm actually in favor of the library. I love that. I think a lot of kids use it, not a lot, but there are kids that use it, there's a lot of support there. I think it's a great thing to come up to the community side, like it. Do like allocating some building space to it. The problem is, it's like getting back to our charter. There, and I apologize, I think I was really aggressive right now, but I'm not, because my voice just isn't coming out, so I have to use a lot of air, and that's sorry. But to that point, they are representatives of Stansbury Service Agency as someone who owns a Stansbury laptop, email, right? And that's why I think there's some conflict there. We are not chartered, we do not have a local to be able to operate as a.
So like what we got in the cemetery, then we have an agreement we can't do.
Yeah, we modified our org.
Right, so like
So
I
how
just,
does that
if we
work?
want the
You know,
library.
the process that you would have used to create the district in the first.
So was that done for each board separately?
No, it was done for recreation, so the green belt service area was authorized to use cemeteries. What else? And so we went through the legal formalities of adding that as a service.
So if we wanted to charter the library, we have to do that.
Or we encourage them to go through the county channels.
Yeah.
And the second thing is we don't get incremental tax revenues to operate the tax. Even if we went back to the charter, we still have 2 tax revenues, right? Some tax dollars to operate.
So I think we need to like. Yeah.
So this next part is that Jim was co-librarian, so that's how she hired the librarian. And she email,
Outside of the authority.
right, it gave.
I'm not against libraries. I think it's great, that's what we.
Right, well, and I think there's still hope, I think we just have to grease those channels, they have to show the county that that's something.
Yeah, I talked to
residents
them.
want, and I would be happy to.
Jim,
Yeah, they shut that down. Yeah,
That
which,
would be
which
fully
to me is short sighted. So,
It's never right.
We
So we have three, okay, we're down to $700 or so. So they've got three computers, I don't understand why they have to have.
emails, because they.
What are they doing postmark?
They have four emails. Because they each one have, and that's something that the previous John manager had,
We're not playing the previous show, they're playing the one I got, so.
That's why he asked me why they have those emails, I'm telling you.
No, I'm saying, they've got three, why do I have to get more?
Because they add four additional board members, and so they wanted a email address for each of the board members, because that's how it was in the past. They were not aware of where where the board stands, and so.
So it's not a matter where the board stands, it's a matter whether we got the money to help them out, you might say, well, it's only $700, but you.
Diane did not know how much it costs, so I told her how much it cost in my email on Monday when she sent me, and she had no idea. And so then she wanted to know how much the agency is willing to support the library financially.
We are already.
We do love the library, but it's not our.
If we were doing what we were doing, they'd be operating out of the back of the truck.
So they're trying to be able to keep, and they're trying to keep the ability for residents to be able to check books out from the state. And for that, they have to have someone that works 20 hours. So they're working really hard trying to find the funds to be able to have someone work 20 hours. And so they wanted to make sure that what they were doing, they're only functioning with volunteers. It's 100% volunteers.
So you have to have somebody on a payroll for 20 hours in order to get.
But then to be able to
Does the
keep
state hold
access
that
to
us
the
every time we turn around?
Well, what have they all been able to like approach Willow City Library, City Library, and see if they partner on a branch or
Are you
something
thinking of
here?
opening the branch?
Yeah.
I don't.
I'm more from Maine, how I like to do that. On the other hand, I'm an avid reader. I have a really hard time removing my business thing and saying we can't afford it, they're not in our turn, we should be paying for it. On the other hand, Jim broke my heart when he told me about his wife shared a story. There was a little girl that came and she depends on the access to the library. And so this is hard to like those kids. On the other hand, I know we don't have
So why is it important? Is there a rule or regulation that they have to have a dog?
I don't know that. I think that's something that Veronica really wanted to have as,
I think the answer, Brett, is no.
Okay, so
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know or they choose to not have a service.
And how do you want to approach the rest of the funding that we're getting from?
The dollars really are a lot. So I'm not really mind.
That's not the issue, it's whether it should
We do have that as an issue, but the real concern is, yes, we just.
be, or using tax dollars to do something.
If we want them to be successful, we gotta point them in the right direction.
I think that's.
What can they
It's right in front of you.
What can they use this, yeah,
So
what?
they are no longer able to get the emerging library grant because they no longer have someone paying them. And so that $2,000 and that $2,000 gave them a lot more ability to use, a lot of different ways. The $4,000 that is from the Twala recreation, that is, and we have a very great breakfast in convenience, but it is mainly to be used for summer reading. And so they thought they were spending the rest of the money on kids. No, actually, Patty was very good at keeping track, but it was increasing.
Part of that grant is they
public comment on some of these. Hypothetically, you don't have the search agency, you go to someplace like GoDaddy.com, you create Stansbury Library. Somebody has Stansbury Library, 5 email addresses, literally $270 a year for 3 years. $270, 5 email addresses, just did the research. You're saving money, it's not a service agency, but model lease, they have this kind of option to pay $270 for 5 email addresses for 3 years. You gotta do the research to lower the cost. There's no reason to pay email address or add a email address for it. He's a tech guy, he doesn't say.
No, it's only be one, they should can't run.
So if you did something, you did go to Stansbury Service Agency, which I understand is rather, you put it under Stansbury Library. Something. You created this as a business entity. They weren't there, whether they have a tax ID, that's not what I'm saying, it's just a community organization. Set up a GoDaddy thing, read your contract, you have an email address, you can have up to 5 of them, $270 a year. But they do it themselves, like, you have to donate $275 to them as a community resource. That pays for their email addresses and all the other hosting, you don't even have to put it under your umbrella.
It's their own website.
They build their own website, you don't even have to manage it, it's just one of those things that they have to. I'm just saying that there's other options that aren't that expensive, that if you're putting, and I guess that's my main question, is just understanding where the bids come from.
Their websites, you give websites.
But if you're creating email addresses, they're charging you that much per email address, to do it cheaper, and have a Stansbury library, rather than a Stansbury service under your. It's just something we would have supposed to tax liability happen as a tax liability. Anyway, just.
If we are to pay for those domain services, it's $270. When we make sure it's not. I think we're paying.
I think we have some authority to make donations. We have to share on it, but I think we want letters to. And the way to do it.
Start, so we can't use your portfolio, right? Years and years and years. So, thanks to that one, portfolio stuff.
Heather, can I link you guys up with the library board chairs?
We haven't, no, but I could, I mean, it just suggests.
No, I said, can I? link you up?
Yeah, 100%. This guy's super smart on that stuff. I talked a lot, he's super smart research. Great. Great.
Let's set up our next.
Okay, so I think we got.
So maybe we've got like a decade of volunteers.
Sports fees. So the board approved the fee schedule. The Stansbury sports team come back and said, we think that's too expensive. They offered proposals for it. So this is what we finally honed their stuff down to, that we basically gave them small, supposedly small increase this year. Kellyanne. My chart.
That's a question for you, sir. Is this just Stansbury or we have?
Right now, Stansbury stuff is used by Stansbury.
But Stansbury needs could have.
Children, they're not just.
Children. Like those. Sports issues.
This is under umbrellas.
I'm so over this. We've been asking about September. Okay, so we did a lot of research and Sakers, which is what Stansbury Park Youth Baseball uses as the park, is Sakers Park. $35 is for 4 fields. It is not per field. You get $35 for the entire park. So I guess I shouldn't even say fields. You get the whole green space that is Sakers Park. $35 an hour. So I feel like that needs to be reiterated. There's been some confusion on it. That includes the concession. We aren't charging to rent the concession area, which I don't know if that's a approach, but I didn't think about it at the time that I was researching. It's not everywhere it provides an entire concession building. So both baseball and football, which is a couple slides over, wanted to do a per head flat rate. My opinion, doesn't matter. A lot of places are going away from per head because it's not a guaranteed set of amount of money, and our numbers don't change whether you have 20 people on the field or 300. We still have to pay to maintain it no matter what. So a lot of places are going away from that. They are doing set hourly rates. So I disagree against per head, but that doesn't mean that we couldn't do for 2023 a set rate for the whole year. Jim and I talked about this in a way that if we wanted to do more of a discount 2024, which is that we get the schedule from the sports teams ahead of time, and you tell us the days and the time that you want the parks. That way I can open up the parks for other organizations to come in and reserve to make up the cost. So for example, it would be $8,000 for Sakers from March when they start playing all the way to August when they're done. And then all of the days that they aren't reserving the parks, I open that up for other baseball teams and organizations to come in and reserve the fields. That is not
At a non-discount.
at a non-discounted rate. This is just discounts for 3 Stansbury leagues. So baseball, elite soccer, and then Stansbury tackle.
So, but you're not charging the same rate for soccer. We're talking about use.
Yeah, they're on a different slide. There's 3 different slides: baseball, football, and soccer.
Soccer.
Soccer never gave a proposal on what they'd like to do. They said that they reserved 5 car parks, and there's no way for me to do a discount dollar-wise if you decided to do a discount. It's more percentage based. So $5 off of $35 is.
Could you base this on $35?
Well, for those 5 parks, I mean, in that there's $30 for Parkview, Sandhill, I believe it's 20, Gateway.
Yeah, I remember the chart that you built.
The
So I'm
15,
saying under $28,000 of different parts, and some of them got 2 fields on, some of them got 1, whatever. Was that based on $35 time?
the 28,000 is how much it costs us to maintain all 5 of those parks, an estimated cost.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Elite told, when I spoke to the president of Elite, she wrote an email that it's gonna cost her anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 estimated to reserve our parks per season with how many hours she reserves them.
But she based that.
Off of our,
$35 time. Or
All the parks are different.
Sakers is 35, because she got her fee schedule. So everyone got our fee schedule that was approved on. There was a lot of pushback, so now we're talking about discounting for 2024 to offset the cost. We're already taking a loss, we're not asking for sports teams. Yes, and so it's a decision of the board if they feel as if there's a need to do a discount or just to keep the fees that were already voted on. Say at 2020.
All right, so if I, we said, we want to do, we're going to go at $30 pounds, so it's $5 discount per hour. That difference between 35 and 30 is X percent. Based on the number of hours.
And educated guess of looking at past reservation. I don't know how long they'll reserve it, which is more of a.
That's what I'm asking. I'm assuming that's the word. That if we were to grant a discount to the baseball association, we would have to grant a discount to soccer association, football association. What I'm trying to understand is between 30 and 35, 35, 30%, 1%, 2%, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, so I would say that if you
So
look
I
at,
have to go to soccer and say, okay,
I would split it to percentage, yes, so I would look at how much the discount is, 30 instead of 35, how much that $5 discount is, and if you decide, let's just do a $5 discount per hour, then I would take that percentage and I would apply that to the week's total, because it's hard, if you go all the way to, and if you go 2 slides over, don't go over. Youth conference, that's another example, they only reserve one part, Elite's the only one that I can't. It'd be so hard to know what the total amount would be on those 5 cards. Because I don't know the hours that they're going to reserve each card. Like, Parkview, they reserve from 9 to 3, but Gateway, they only reserve from 9 to noon. There's only one field there, so they don't. What? But not all the same times.
so, how I would say, there should be one part.
Elite.
Football,
Yeah, so football, I can do the per dollar discount. I just can't do that for Elite.
So they only use village park. So that one.
The football, football only uses village, they only reserve village from us.
What about that? The total soccer over there on the one that's got back in there?
That's Sandhill.
Sandhill.
Yeah, soccer takes everything else. Football, at least to my knowledge,
Football got village 4 nights a week, or 4 days a week plus Saturday.
they've got 6 days a week, they got it Monday through Saturday. That's, in the past, that's what they've reserved, so I think my goal.
One of the things you've seen is they'll reserve a park.
Yeah, I agree. That's exactly. Our revenue's not like.
So it's about the same, like this is what 13% discount, the baseball was like 14% discount, so. I would, that first year.
Yes, I'm already happy, so I can ask the main questions. Yes, the question is, why? Like, I think we've asked multiple times, or at least I've said, hey, we would actually have come state the case, tell us why we should give them a discount. Like, I just don't understand why. Are we nice people? Are we nice people? Like, I'm trying to understand why we do that.
Baseball is going to be at the top. Sometimes nice and sometimes not. I've had meetings with Kellyanne and Jim. Those guys, trying to explain to them what and why. And, it's not, for me, it's a very uncomfortable situation because I've played ball all my life and I've never paid to play. And so this is like, I got a league for 20 years there. We did a hell of a lot of free volunteer work, a lot of hours. And maybe that's why the city never said anything to us. I mean, we painted, we fixed it, we just did a ton of stuff. And, now even up in Twilla, I know that they may not have it in place yet. They're talking pretty seriously about doing it within the next year or two, if not this year. So, things change. And all of us know that the cost of being able to operate, when I say operate, cut the grass, water grass, take care of the weeds, whatever we've got to do, sometimes just prep in the field. I've got Stan Spider, chopping the lines and doing all kinds of stuff in the infield, you know, to make their game better, nicer, whatever. But I don't think God is a cheaper. Okay, so I'm trying to compare then and now. And so it comes down
So,
to.
Kellyanne, did this include them doing some of the work they talked about, or was that just teaching?
No, this is, they're doing the same stuff.
Well, I think, or God got us kind of a loose idea of what they take care of. The thing that's hard is they have 200 volunteers volunteer one day and feel like they got 200 hours of research doing that. They have talked about still chalking and things and helping in terms of offsetting costs. And I don't want to speak to Gordon because he's the one that's over operations, but a lot of the things that we have to take care of, I think liability wise, or it's part that we want to maintain, are the things that cost the time and the money. So things that we can have other organizations take care of, I don't know how much that's saving us having them chalk the fields or push the.
They drag it.
That's,
That's the way people lay out. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So, thank you for sharing that, and I agree, that's a reason, right? They're gonna kind of say, hey, we'll offset some of these costs, that's a reason, kind of a hard discussion. It's not a reason to get someone a discount, I don't think it is, right? An example, my daughter pays $51 an hour for trail accounting stuff. And we still have to go in there, we have to put things up, we clean our floors, we sweep our floors. There's lots of things we still have to do. Like, these are things that like are part of growing as an athlete and making sure that you actually apply yourself in the sport. So my point is like, yeah, they can shoot, if they can offset some of the costs, I'm all for it, discount. But otherwise, all we're doing is delaying it a year. This is what it is. Second point is like, again, going from 6,000 to 12,000, so $10 a head or $20 a head, paying for a full year of $20 per person to use our facilities, I just don't see that as being an incredible ask. Maybe I'm wrong, I'm just saying, I just think that's a reasonable dollar, I would say $20 per person to use our facilities is the best.
I'll say the best argument for this year was from soccer. They have 2 seasons and they bill for both. You have the option to bill for both, pay for both fall and spring and fall, and that's how it costs. So they would be able to charge like $3. So I think that's a good reason. Baseball, I'll just bring this into baseball gets that concession stand, and I think in exchange for all those volunteer hours, we can make money.
But you know what that money goes to?
Then the other teams have.
You know what that money goes to? That money goes to umpires and some of their equipment. Nobody else. So, and their umpires are like, $45 a game. That's a ton. You compare that to what they're paying for the soccer guys, not even compare it. So.
So the question is, do we want to pursue doing this kind of
Right now, the budget's based on the discount, right?
right now, the fee schedule is based on. Right, it's based on what would be the effective.
Well, from my perspective, there's no way I would go so much per head. You just can't do that. That doesn't work. That doesn't help us. That's.
Up or down, John?
I don't want to be the one who says that we can be increasing, because it does, again, makes you sound like probably really aggressive. I think at least soccer now makes it valid for people collective to often do again, to pay for the spirit, right? And I think they are doing some services to offset some costs. for me, I feel like we set it, we make a decision, we don't kick our can down the street, we just do it.
We have our set pay scale and we use that. So we don't do the chopping, that's all. And, but if they do a service project for us, that is approved by our supervisors, then they will get a discount down to 50%, that's it. Now, our rates are a little higher than this. So 50%, it covers our costs.
Now, this will not cover. And we sort of set it that way because that we were phasing in that.
I think if you try to say sweat equity for some of the dollars and so for X number of hours and so it's worth $12 or $15 an hour or something. Maybe you're able to work it out better at the city level, but
I'm just telling you it is not perfect,
but,
because we have our issues.
but they're already, making the third infield, where they have to. And they're already marking lines. That's the extent, with the exception of 2 cleanup days a season, a cleanup day in the spring, a cleanup day in the fall. And breaking the field and chopping, that's the extent of it.
So what is the service agency?
We're cutting the grass, we're taking care of all the weeds, we're mowing the grass, we're
Are you
irrigating.
spinning fields?
Huh?
Are you spinning fields?
Are
Are you
special?
No, are you prepping the fields? Are you taking care of the first initial?
This year they've been taking care of.
Maybe the first day, show me.
We have, yes. This is the first year we've been taking care of all of that.
So it's, yeah, that's, I think that it's better to have us do some of the turning fields and things that you talk about, because you don't do it right, the next thing you do is you
Yeah,
lips on the grass and then you're gonna spend all kinds of time to fix it. It's better to do it right the first time as opposed to do it.
But he has a telephone number.
Yeah, baseball hasn't set their fees yet for 2024. They're waiting for the board's decision. So baseball won't be, I guess, quote unquote, affected in the way that Elite has, because they had already done their race and budgeted. And they have already opened up enrollment for the spring. They did October 1st. And so all around, Elite has a loss for the spring. Now, for the fall of next year, they haven't collected anything for that. So if you're not wanting to do a discount at all in terms of the whole year, the only time that Elite is affected is spring 2024. So something to keep in mind if you don't want to do a whole year, but just,
I think it's fair.
So, and none of these guys have ever, they didn't know we were considering this, at least I didn't think they did until October of this year. When did we get started?
well, I mean, Andy, when Elite president came in, she was made aware 2 years ago that Stansbury Service Agency would begin charging in the near future. So it wasn't surprising to her that the fees were approved. She just needed to make sure they could afford it. At where the rates were set, they couldn't afford it. But she wasn't surprised. FIBO was the most surprised.
And they went on it, it was in end of 2021, 2022. Monica and Polly had a meeting with every single sport union, our company, and one to each party.
Not me. But in this year, they were told in October, which we felt would be enough time for them to figure out their finances, but then there's so much pushback.
I like that it's not like 50%. I like the 10%. If we were gonna do one thing like that.
So your reasoning be for doing that, just to kind of ease them into it.
Yeah, for baseball, that would be neat.
No one's going to be hold up.
So if you're easing into it, if they have 2 seasons, once football or baseball or soccer. You could say, well, you know, we're gonna ease you into it in the spring. Maybe go on the soccer side. We may not get into the tournament. Start to the full field in the fall. And when soccer comes in the fall, you said they sign up for spring, so, oh, man. You may not be able, because of the way it's split, you may not be able to help ourselves in the spring on soccer. So I don't know.
I still feel like we can charge for soccer because we haven't, they're still collecting fees for some money going. It's kind of my thought process, so, but they haven't collected enough probably to figure out the offset of the cost. But if we were to charge, Mandy told me that they would have to go to their board and figure out what they want to do, whether they use our fields or they use the school districts, they're gonna have to pay. Now, I don't know if the school district, I cannot get a straight answer from our school district what the rate is, but I looked on that side of the mountain. And we're still very, very low compared to what school districts charge. And so, but I can't speak for our school district, I don't know.
I think we're probably lower than most.
Where are you?
Well, I suggest that we can do the $5 discount for spring. Do no discount for fall.
Does that equate to fair play with football's only going to play in the fall? That they would not get a discount. I'm just questioning your perspective.
So, that's where we're going with 3 minutes.
Okay. I think that's wonderful. I know that on the chart, I know that I'll be having a chart.
Okay, all your.
I'm not gonna sleep for months now.
Dude, nobody talks about this, all these outdoor sports has away as, like, I think, double that.
You were
Basketball.
special. You were special.
Tennis is twice as much that, like. Mountain biking, oh my gosh, mountain biking is way more
That's not
expensive
sport.
than any of this.
That's not a team sport.
Yes. Okay, board member reports and concerns. Ammon.
I'll probably say something next time, so I don't know. Well, no, I mean, make sure you're looking over the budget, we continue to approve that, like, any questions, let's fill them. Finance committee will try to next Wednesday's meeting, so, please vet and it's, yes, we oversee it, it's everyone's responsibility, we should look at it, right? Provide very in-depth detail on everything, we dug into most of those, we felt pretty comfortable. Again, that's based on just running bare minimum, keep the lights on, this is what we have. And the reason being is we just don't have those dollars till December. The recession revenues, less than anything we pay this year, that we receive this month. So we'll have some tasks that we're going to go forward. We do need to approve and we need to have this a schedule. For next year, we should have done that. Tom and I discussed that in today's meeting, but next year's schedule. Meeting schedule for board and business and board meetings, right? So, we should discuss. We tried to get it so that we January's meeting because January's meeting is not going to be on there, right? So we did discuss it in December. Anyway,
You should probably do that next year. I mean, we did both those things.
When we do that, set up the planning and the policy meeting. You know, so. I have to check the law out and something, so we at least put it out there, and if you have to change it, just promise.
Schedule a public hearing in advance of your adopting the budget.
We will.
Yeah, you have to have a public hearing before you can adopt the budget. I think you have 7 days notice.
So if you're gonna touch my clock, that Wednesday, you better notice for that day.
Does that bring it to a different date?
No, not tax. You can do the public hearing in a meeting and adopt the budget.
Trying to remember if there's anything we need to approve or discuss before January. Again, I'll probably say my farewells next time, but, yeah, there might be some things we'll do. Yeah, I'll know my time. I'll know my time.
I made contact with Taylor Electric today. He's gonna make it, on Friday to talk about the most on parts of the power and things like that, do the design for the light years. I realize we're not doing everything there, but I'm gonna meet with him at 1 o'clock. At the park, should be there, I appreciate it. We have, it's a lot of good that I can have. It's really awesome. On the ballpark down at Fordway, I've drugged that and the infield as much as I can. I'm not gonna get more of this, won't be able to do any more work on it until probably in March. But I'm gonna go put some pre-emergent on the dirt area, try to keep the weeds in my back, and we still got to do the final layout. That's gonna take, I don't know about where we're gonna be in the kitchen now, but that's gonna take what we gotta do. It's a week's work, so that's where that's at. On the pool diving work, I believe last year we budgeted like $6,600 for that work.
Yeah, we did, it's not this year's budget.
Okay, so my opinion is, since we're not, if it's not in the budget, I'm assuming even if we're open, if we're just gonna keep it like it was last year, I would keep it off. I'd like to recommend that we put this retention plate, retainer plate that Optech has that we need. And they did that. Hard time with it. There, they didn't go back.
My understanding that everything was set to go except for the board. That's the way I got it.
No, the plate, remember I told you first.
Right.
So he's got the plate. That salesperson bought it.
Okay.
It's in his truck, it's all the other, probably in his office now. Right, I don't know if we're gonna get chemicals from him or not, because, we're looking for service. Anyway, so I recommend we get that plate back, because at some point in time, if we're gonna apply for, I gotta have that plate, so I can't put it off. So I can do that if you want, or how we want it. The golf course vandalism reward payment. Know that that's going to be a volunteer that's going to take care of it, but I think we ought to pay that out to that individual, and we'll do the 500,000. Let's get that done before the end of the year.
I've already talked to him and,
Okay, so I didn't know what we've done.
yeah, so I talked to him, so we'll work out a mechanism to do that.
Okay, not this. And I recommend we go gather up the rewards. You're all right with that? that, and, we'd like to do something else, but I think that's not.
Jim, do you have anything?
No, not that I haven't ordered with already.
I just think we should probably say something in our public meeting that we've been talking to Utah Golf and Fitness about, possibly working with the golf course. No decision has been made, no exploring this. Thinking about what terms we would hire to it. In general, they have a few courses, or will they have arrangements in Eagle Mountain, and they have some outside in Barron, and so, it could be good, you know, they'd probably be able to help us on their golf course up to par with Old Sugar, and revenue sharing with them. Without wanting anyone to like freak out about it right now, but I do want to, you know, let people know that. Jimmy? Okay.
You're suggesting in the budget that we close down the golf course on about 15th of December, and then open it up. That's the idea for the weather basis. I suggest that we close it down. The damage that we do to that golf course out there, particularly with fairways, when it's frozen and guys do a divot or something like that, those divots don't come back for, you know, almost 2 months, and they don't start to come back until the 1st of March. I just don't see us, on the amount of money that we're making, or supposedly making, the people that are playing in January, February, most of those guys are absolutely. So it's not like I'm making any additional money, you know, to count on, because the van for the fee for the pass in December and the first part of January.
Yeah, our thought was that after the 15th of December, it's going to be snow covered.
And I agree with you. I just don't see the advantage of opening up for 3 days this week, 1 day next week, whatever. I think that's, so I would suggest we think about opening December 15th and not opening until the first of March and the weather. I don't know how you feel about that. I think we're losing less money now.
I talked to Matt a little bit. He thought it was okay to play on. He didn't think that was a big deal, but I like the closing and opening it.
Closing and opening? Yeah.
You close yours at all?
They open when it's open. I mean,
So they're open periodically.
like, they open. Yeah, they open. They open.
They don't open more. They go open on it.
But if it's warm, I mean, if it's,
January thought people want to be up there.
yeah, but I mean, you have to take into consideration, grass is a living organism, right? And it's not, it's warm.
Yeah.
And tree damage is not like that.
Say first.